Recording. So now it's recorded. So welcome again to the training session on BI, transport management. Today, this is the first day of a three-day series of WebEx sessions on BI for transportation management. The sessions are located within the framework of the ramp-up in a way. But the ramp-up is going in one direction in terms of web seminars and some other activities. And this TMBI training, it's more, let's call it like a continuation of the training that the LPs took in Valencia some weeks ago. So the idea for this training is to show to you what's there in terms of production for the reports only devoted for transportation management. So remember that back in, I think in November, when you guys came to Valencia, those reports were in development status. Our colleagues in RDM, in reporting and data management unit here in Valencia, they were able to finally design and put in production all those reports. We're talking about 4 reports. And the idea of this week is to go through those reports and show to you what's available and the things that you can do initially with the data. So let me take a look at if one of our colleagues from the RDM is around. Once he or she is around, then I will put them as a panelist as well. One is there, okay, let me see, because if one is around, I will put him as a panelist so he can intervene anytime. So let me see, Juan Reverte, okay. Juan, I'm changing your role as a panelist, so you will be able to see the Q&A as well. Pablo as well. Go, Pablo, I'm putting you as a panelist. Okay, so we are good to go now. So as you can see in the screen now, the proposed agenda for these 3 days is the following. Today we are starting with very light, with a BI introduction. Why? Because we understood from the Valencia training that not most of you were acquainted with the tool itself, although we have there in the as an attendees names that really sound familiar to us, like Sasha, Adrian, and some other colleagues who have been designing and creating reports in BI for a long time, and they are very, very knowledgeable on the tool. But we will focus today on the ones of you who are not, as I said, acquainted with the tool and the system, BI. And that's why I'd like you, if you can kindly check on the green check or in the red cross on your screen, in order to answer green if you are familiar with BI in general, or you can click on the red cross in case that you are not familiar whatsoever with the BI system. So we have initial feedback, Saida, myself, on let's see the general baseline of knowledge for these 3 days, and then we will customize a little bit the demos and the documentation based on this baseline of knowledge. So please, if you can kindly go through the checkbox and click on the green check if you are familiar with BI, or in the red cross if you are not. So as I said, we have initial knowledge of the, let's say, what we can expect in terms of questions in today and tomorrow and the day after. So while Saida is monitoring this, your feedback initially, let me go back to the proposed agenda. As I was saying, we will start light with a BI introduction, and then we will focus on the report number 1, then twin delivery requirements and charges. This is, let's say, the most important report out of the 4 that we will go through this week. Why? Because we'll give you a holistic perspective of the whole process from the DTR document up until the freight order, going through the freight unit. So all the master data elements and all the attributes related to transportation management model are within that data universe, that report number 1, end-to-end delivery requirements and charges. The other 3 reports, delivery requirements and forwarding orders, event details, and freight orders and events, are some sort of a subset of this main end-to-end report. That's why if you do understand the end-to-end report, you will be able to navigate quite easily on the other 3. So that's why we are going to spend a little bit of time today, report on the end-to-end, and if we have questions or we were not able to cover fully this report number 1, we will resume tomorrow, as you can see in the agenda, and then we will jump to report number 2 and 3. And on the very last day, we will go to report number 4, FOs and events, and we will allocate a little bit of time on the Power BI dashboard that our colleagues in RDM created for all the end user family that will be using using the transportation model. This framework, this Power BI, you have to look at as a complementary tool of these 4 reports, and you'll see that there are a list of KPIs that we will go through this week, more than 50, almost 60 KPIs that will be used as a guide, as a cheat sheet for you to start using reports and creating demos. But this Power BI dashboard will actually focus on those KPIs as well. But please note that the KPIs are not official KPIs from the business, are just intended for all of us to start using reports and to understand a little bit of the picture of the transportation management module, either in Umoja BI with the 4 reports and Power BI. And this as per the agenda proposed, then I'm definitely now jumping into the BI introduction. And Saida, if there are any questions, just feel free to chip in. So as I was saying, BI in BI introduction, and probably most of you know, it's we can call it like a repository of data that will be used to analyze trends, current trends, and foreseen trends in the future. So BI is intended only to create reports to understand how we are doing in any of the models in Umoja, in this case now for transportation, and to understand the picture of the data in our mission, let's say, or for a particular shipper, if you may, and to make decisions in the future based on the data, right? So as you can see in the screen, we have 2 on the side, like 2 pillars, which the first one is the Umoja ECC part that probably most of you are familiar with. This is the enterprise core component of Umoja, where all the, let's say, financial transactions are done. That's one transactional model, meaning that you create transactions there, right? On the other hand, the Umoja portal that will cover information on procurement, on requisitioning, on employee self-service, but as well on TM, because you know the cockpit it's in the portal itself. So that's a transactional system. So you create transactions, you create, let's say, data and documents in those transactional models, and you have a list of records either in ECC or in the portal. But in Umoja BI, this is the 3rd pillar. It's going to combine data coming from both transactional systems, and we'll try, let's say, to link those data in a customized reports, web intelligence reports, or then data universes available for you to create and customize reports based on your needs. So important to differentiate between transactional reporting and BI reporting. TM data flow scheme. So, and this is quite an exception. You'll see why. So let's say that we create transactions in the TM model, right? So there are a series of documents related to transportation management that are live transactional data created on our day-to-day. So that data is stamped into BI, in business intelligence, in the data repositories, also called, let's say, analysis workspace, which is the layout of the report coming from that data in TM. And from there, we can create visualization reports, this is a report and analysis workspace as well. That data is extracted and converted, let's say, or transported into Power BI. So you can either have visualizations in Power BI of that data coming from the transactional model, right? Or you can have customized reports, analysis workspaces, for them created for you. So as a whole, it's important to understand the following, that only for the TM model, and this is, I want you to take a note of this last sentence on the bottom of the slide. All the transactions created in TM as a transactional live data will be or will reflect the data in BI. So there is no 24-hour delay from the TM model to Umoja BI. So you probably know that in all the BI reports in Umoja, we're talking about real estate or funds management or finance, supply chain, requisitioning. All those reports are receiving data from the transactional model, either from ECC or from the portal. And that data received takes 24 hours to be processed. So when you launch a report in BI, you know that that data is not live and has 24-hour delay. That's why you have here this morning schedule that runs from 2 a.m. to 8 a.m. every single day, Central European time, and takes 6 hours to be processed, and then that data now is placed into BI. So that is happening for all the BI reports, but it's not happening for TM. So the moment that there is a DTR document and modification in a DTR document or in a FU in the transactional model in transportation management, those modifications will be seen or shown in the reports in Umoja BI. So that's quite an exception, and I wanted you to understand that from the beginning, because that actually changed the whole, let's say, game. Because if you do want to make a decision or analyze a trend, you know for sure that the data that you're using in order to do the analytics, in this case in Power BI, it's coming from just a minute ago. And there is not 24-hour delay, so you don't have to wait up until come up with a report that will reflect the status of your transportation as a consignee in that moment. So that's quite important. So take a good look at this slide, and please share this piece of information, especially for the ones in your mission or in your unit who are using BI, that only for TM, this data dump is coming automatically from the transportation model in the portal. And why this is done? For two reasons. The first one is that technically now it's possible with HANA. And secondary, I think it was one of the requirements of the business that the TMBI report will reflect live transactional data as well. So the reason behind is that. So this slide is especially for the ones of you who are not familiar with reporting in general, just for you to understand that in general terms, ECC or SRM reporting, transactional reporting, it's real-time reporting. So you have a list of records that are coming from the transactions done in that minute. BI reporting, usually it takes 24-hour delay, except for the TM reports. In terms of analytical capabilities, you'll see that it's quite different. When you run a report in the portal, you basically have a list of, let's say, inbound deliveries with information, and then you can export to Excel. That's basically it, right? Whereas in Umoja BI reporting or in Power BI, you have a pretty much advanced analytical capabilities, because basically you can use different master data elements coming from different systems, and you can actually create visualizations, line charts or bar charts or pie charts, or you can link different reports. So it's just another type of reporting. Okay? In terms of how you can customize, this is basically in ECC or SRM. That's what you see is what you get in terms of the data records. In Umoja BI, basically, you have several functions available and activities that you can do within BI in order to customize the reports based on your needs. So it's a totally different game, one on the other. But that doesn't mean that transactional reporting is less important. No, it's very, very important. That's why if you want to analyze your situation in terms of transportation, you do have to understand how to launch reports in the transactional systems and then in BI as well. So it's actually complementary one to the other. So that's a screenshot of what you can see in terms of transactional reporting in the portal. So that's a list of, I think it's inbound deliveries. I cannot see from here very well, but the list of inbound deliveries with information, right? So it's a list of records. If you click on here on this one of these buttons, you will be able to basically change a little bit the layout of the columns, export to Excel, but that's it, right? Then BI or Power BI will give you access to another set of data, so you can customize all those inbound deliveries and link it to other documents, or you can create visualizations or see visualizations in Power BI and the report. So as you can see, this is the contrast between one report and the other. It's shown in this screen. The components in only just in Umoja BI. Now we're talking only on Umoja BI. So basically you have two components. The first one is what we call formatted reports or web intelligence reports. In TM specifically, we do not have web intelligence reports. Those for the moment were not requirements from the business. That doesn't mean that in the future we will not have, probably we will have web intelligence reports, but from now, what we have are analysis workspaces. So these are the type of reports that you you expect to see in these 3 days of training. Analysis workspaces that will have a set of attributes and measures that you can play around with, and then create or customize your report based on your needs. Then if it happened that we have some formatted reports, basically these formatted reports will be consumed. So you click on the prompt in the initial, let's say, window where you have to filter the elements of the report, then you launch a report, and then you'll see a set of data that you cannot basically customize very well. So two components: first, a static report, formatted report; a second one, analysis workspace. As I said, only ad hoc reporting is available now in transportation management. Okay, so we can expect only those for analysis workspaces. Saida, if we have any question, comments, please feel free. I see that we have more people joining, so I'm happy to see that almost we reached 40. Let me take this opportunity to say two things. First, that this session is recorded, and secondly, that on Thursday and Friday, we are going to have a support session in the afternoon, especially for the missions in the far west, let's say, in Colombia, in Santiago de Chile, in New York, and especially will be devoted to those guys, right? But that doesn't mean that you cannot join, right? So we'll be an open session that you can use in order to go through the demos again or pose questions if you want. So getting back to the session, where to find the BI reports and which role should I have? Okay, First, the role that you should request or have right now, it's the BI-85 role, which will give you access to those 4 analysis workspaces. That doesn't mean if you have BI-85 role, that doesn't mean that you have access to some other reports in other models. That role will give you access to the analysis workspaces in the TM model, okay, in BI, nothing else. But it's more than enough because this BI-85 role will give you access to eventually any other report, any other web intelligence report that will be placed in the future in that folder. So that's the role that you have to request initially through the service desk in your mission, and from there the user access provisioning process will go along, and then there is a functional approver involved. Once that workflow is done, then you will be granted with the role, and then you will be able to see the folder transportation management in the root of folders in BI and see the 4 reports that we will cover this week. Okay, so that's a bit of a screenshot of the TM folder with the 4 reports involved and the specific role BI-85 that you have to request. This is a screenshot of the Power BI frame, let's say, work that our RDM colleagues have created in Valencia. So you'll see that you will have information on troops, on transportation on troops, on UNOE, on STR-STO movements, events, and delays. So once you click in one of these 5 icons, then you will be redirected to the data devoted only to that type of transportation. And you'll see that there are plenty of diagrams and donut charts that will give you a very good idea of how your transportation is doing in your mission. So that will be mostly covered in the 3rd day. So, but do not expect Power BI training. It's only first for you to understand that there is a link that you can use. And secondly, that this set of data, it's customized and fixed by RDM and cannot be changed based on your needs. But this is just an idea of what you can do in Power BI, and with mostly covers a lot of the KPIs and information that you should be familiar with in terms of transportation management. So at the end of the day, today, in almost 2nd week of ramp up in TM, what's available in terms of reporting in BI. So we have 4 reports in Umoja BI that if you have the role, you will be able to see. And then we have the framework of visualizations within Power BI. So those are the 2 sets of data that you can expect to see and work with in this minute in reporting in BI. So then I'd like to share with you what we call the sample of indicators. So our colleagues in RDM started to design the reports in TM and even the Power BI visualizations based on requirements from the business. Although these KPIs are not official coming from the business, meaning that those are not integrated in a policy itself. But these indicators will give you will be used, and I want you to start using these indicators in order to start using the reports. So as you can see, the first 15 indicators are devoted to type of movements, status of movements, the movements created monthly or by user, LOAs versus non-LOAs movements, mode of transportation, and you can see that it's available. Yes, you can see there in the screen. Yes, it's available in the reports and Power BI as well. Saida, over to you.
Yes, I will just answer directly to Abdul, who said that the sound is not very good, but from our side, I don't see any issue. So please double check your sound setting. I hope this will help. But from here, unfortunately, I mean, I don't see any issue in terms of sound. And then the second part of the question was there's another presentation in half an hour on IBB and OBD packing. And if I'm not mistaken, it is delivered by Brian, indeed, but it is actually a repetition of what has been already presented here. So if you have already attended the workshop in Valencia or have attended any webcast from Elena, this is a repetition. And on top of that, I would like to repeat again that this session delivered by Daniel is recorded, so we will send the link to the recording at a later stage. So if you have to attend, or if you don't hear properly the sound, hopefully in the recording this will be better. Yeah, otherwise I would say for the other session on packing, this is very much up to you. If you have already attended that, this is just a repetition. Yeah.
Thank you, Saida. Exactly. We know that it was going to happen. There is some sort of overlap between the two sessions, but the sessions delivered by our colleagues in TM, the trainers over here in the team, are just a repetition of what's been said these past weeks and in the training. So if you are an LP in transportation management, I definitely would recommend you to stay in BI, and please note that those webinars delivered by the rest of the colleagues in the team are as well recorded. So the repository of webcast webinars are all recorded, so you can go back to them in case that you have missed any of the sessions. So thank you, Saida. Let me continue with the indicators. This is just a sample of them. This 39, but we have up until 60. So the idea of these indicators is just to serve as a cheat sheet, as a guidance for you to start using the reports. And you'll see that I will share with you an Excel where you can filter by type of reports and type of indicator, so you can know which attribute and which master data element you can use in the reports. And even we will use this list of indicators to use the demo. So I think it's quite a good effort and good piece of work that our colleagues in RDM have created these weeks, because it's not only kind of like guiding you through what you should be able to test and check in your mission in terms of indicator, but it serves as a guidance, especially for the non-familiar users with BI, because you'll see that the way to create these reports based on the indicator is very easy. So, and that's why I want to use this list of indicators in order to perform the demos. So more on the indicators, you'll see that these, let's say, concepts or KPIs are broken down into the type of transportation. So depending on whether you're transporting troops, COE, UNOE, or STR, STO, where one KPI will apply or the rest. So you'll see here just in just one view which ones will be applicable for one type of transportation of another. Here we go, TM scenario. Then I will share with you the Excel. This is the Excel with all the indicators. So basically on the filter, you will be filtering here, for example, by type of report. And based on the type of report, you will see a list of indicators. And on top of that, you'll see which are the, as I say, which are the attributes used in each of the indicators that you can drag and drop in the report, and then you'll see. Okay. So as I said, these KPIs will give you an idea of what's going on in your mission in terms of transport in a very high level, but will be used as well for the non-familiar users with BI, because it gives you kind of like a step-by-step process or how to, on which attributes you should use initially in order to understand the data in BI for transportation management. Then if you are an advanced user, you probably can skip this one and start creating your own reports based on your needs or your knowledge on BI. So that's for the first presentation on let's say, introduction on the system. As I said, please feel free to ask any questions. Aida is monitoring, and we are glad to use these 2 hours or 1 hour and a half of your time every day to really get to know whether you are familiar or not with the system, and whether you need specific training on specific part of BI, whether you're okay and you are more than ready to start using the reports. Please, that feedback is important because trust me, only with 6-hour sessions in BI, if you're not acquainted with the system, will not be enough. So that's why the more that you can use with Q&A these sessions, the better. And for you and for us, so we understand how we can customize the following trainings in BI as well. So this is the first presentation that will be for sure shared with you after this session, along with the recording. And now I'm moving to the presentation related to the end-to-end report. Okay, and then I will basically will be covering this presentation along with the demo at the same time. So I will be jumping into BI and jumping into the presentation as we go along. Now, after the BI introduction, we are going to go directly into the report on freight orders and items and charges. First of all, I'd like to always share with you a bit of the business need, objective, and some initial analysis that you can use for each of the reports. So now we're talking about the end-to-end, so we will have this, let's say, introductory slide so you understand what you should be expecting from this report. First, the business need for this report itself is to support business with assessment of shipments and freight orders from a wide variety of perspectives and indicators. You'll see that in this report, you have plenty of master data elements related to the TR and freight orders as well. And that actually this report pivots to those two concepts and mostly to the freight orders. So you have plenty of information related to the freight order, and you can link it to the freight unit and to the DTRs as well. So the objective is to do the analysis, pivoting through those three documents in transportation: DTR, FU, or FO. And so many initial analysis at hand that you can do. Well, you can check whether the DTR has a one-to-one relationship with an FU, and whether that FU has, let's say, a one-to-many relationship with a freight order. So you can track all these sequential documents in the TM process, and you can use the list of indicators, as I said before, as a cheat sheet in order to get used to this report. Then this is the prompt that you will be initially. This prompt is always once you double click, and you'll see live in a minute, when you double click in the report, you'll see an initial window that it's called a prompt, where all the master data elements on the left, this is the prompt summary, are available for you to be used. This is like when you use a T code in ECC, basically it's the way to filter the data initially before you see the report itself. So you have a logical sequence. You have information from the DTR. So you have the delivery date from, delivery date to, the pickup date from, pickup date to. So you have a list of elements that you can choose or filter from the DTR perspective, or you can do it from the FU perspective or FO perspective. So the question is, from where do you want to start your analysis? You can start it from the DTR, so you will use those elements and you will filter based only on those elements. Or maybe you want to start using from the freight unit. So you want to know who created, when it was created, the freight unit, which is the shipper, the consignee, the purchasing organization, and so on and so forth, only for the FU. Or on the contrary, you may want to use the FO, freight order, the consignee, the carrier, the shipper. So depending on where you want to start, the prompt gives you the possibility to start filtering from the beginning. So, and this is what I put as a logical sequence from the bottom to up: DTR elements, FU elements, and FO elements. As you can see that there are more than these elements in the screenshot. So there are plenty of elements that you can use initially in the prompt. But on the other hand, you're free just to click in OK without selecting any of these master data elements. So the report will give you all the information for all the consignees, for all the UN in terms of transportation management. And then in the report itself, when you see all the data, then you can filter. So you can filter initially in the prompt, or you can filter later when you see the report and the data in BI. So let's say that I do not select any of these master data elements initially in the prompt, and I click directly in OK. In case you do not select any element in the initial prompt, so this is what we will see. So this is a report, end-to-end report. I have plenty of attributes on the left panel. All these attributes are in the initial prompt, and then I will see a list of measures on the right side here, which are numbers, which are related to number of documents, amount related to the FO, average, is the third one I can see very well, and the weights related to the transportation. So all these elements are prompted initially, but you can change. So this is initially the first visualization of data, but you can now, based on your knowledge or your needs, then you can start dragging and dropping attributes in these boxes, and then the data will be changed accordingly. And you can see that there are two tabs. This is the summary tab, the first one here, and then we have a detail one. So the first one is coming with one single attribute, which is the DTR document type description. So the breakdown type of DTR, whether we're talking about a UNOE, STO, COE, the transportation of troops, and so on and so forth, and then breakdown of those DTR based on these measurements. So that comes initially by default if you do not select any element in the initial prompt. Okay. Then in the details tab, if you click you go to the details tab and you do not select any element in the initial prompt, you have plenty of information now, not only from the DTR, but you have the FU document and different elements related to FOs linked to each of the DTRs with the FO numbers. And from there, you have a breakdown of information on amounts, on weights, on quantity, and average weight by each of those elements. So these two slides are just intended for you to understand that if you don't know exactly what to do in the prompt in the initial window and you click in OK, this is what you should expect initially. Okay, but this is just an initial suggestion that the system gives to you, but you can always change based on the elements that you want to drag and drop. So let me go directly to system and see whether I can. I'm going to stop sharing for a minute, and then I will share again because I have the system on another window. So bear with me just a minute. All right, I hope you see now this is production, right? So as you can see in the left panel, I see a list of folders related to different modules in the system. Transportation and event management is the one that we're gonna use these days. These are the reports now certified in production. The first four are the ones that we will cover. And then this TM.EM monitoring report, it's a report that it was migrated initially from other stages of the project, but we will not cover that one. It's the first four, okay? So you'll see the second one, end-to-end freight orders and items on charges, is the one that I want to use. I double-click on the report, and as you could see in the presentation, we will be prompted to this huge screen with plenty of master data elements that we can use initially, right? From the DTR perspective, going through the FU, and then on the top part, FO, okay? And based on your, let's say, the initial requirements, for example, if you click here in consignee, you will be able to select from this matchbox the consignee, the mission that you want to start analyzing data with. So let me just click in OK directly and see what the report gives us initially from the beginning. And I think that takes a little bit of time. So back presentation while the report, it should take no more than 1 or 2 minutes. Here, it was fast. So let me minimize. So this is what we see in production right now. So remember, I didn't click anything in the prompt. I see information from DTR for UNAE, for COE, and COE troops. And I see a series of documents for each one of the document type from DTR. Information on final amount on US dollars, average total cargo in quantity, in weight, in volume, in cubic meters, FO average amount per cargo, and so on and so forth. Initially, you see these measures. These measures are these columns, these 8 columns here. So, of course, I have more than 8. I have plenty of them. You see the measures? You see all these, let's see, yellowish blue icons. So all of them are measures available for me to be used. So if I double click here on measures, I will be able to see all the measures included in the report, but only 8 of them have been ticked. You see? You can include more than 8. You can include all of them if you want, or you can just unselect some others and use the other. So based on your needs, remember that I will not change anything now, but you can always click on measures and customize based on your needs. So this is initially in the summary tab where we can see. Then in the detail tab, once I click, I'll see, as you could see in the presentation, a little bit of more specifics on each of the DTR documents, with a few documents included, a few FO documents, the source location address for the FO and the item itself, and the same all 8 columns that we were covering before. And you see the rows here. Initially, we only have 1 in the summary tab. Now in the detail tab, we have here 9 of them, okay, that you can change. And for example, if you are not, you think that the FO product now is not important, so what you can do here, you can just drag out. See if, yes, it takes time. Drag out, and then this FO product will be removed from the report itself. Okay, so this is what you can expect initially in the report. So getting back to the presentation. Okay, so I think that I have to again stop sharing and change the. I think I have to change the monitor probably to. Here we go. Now it's fake, right? So this is the details tab. Remember that I have 1 column related to the TR, another column for a few. These are the ones in the rows that you can see in the left panel, and then plenty of them for the FO documents. Okay, so especially for the ones of you who are not familiar with the system, I will use these next 5 minutes to show to you from the theoretical perspective how you can understand this report, and then we will move on to the system. So remember, in the report, it's like divided into 2 main frames. In the left panel, you have a list of attributes, let's say, that you can use. And then on the right part, you have a list of measures that you can. So the idea for the reports, in order to customize the transportation management data for these reports, you select a set of attributes, and then you select another set of measures. And you see how they link together. And based on that linkage and that connection, then you see whether it makes sense or not, the data in the report. So let's say I have, in terms of DTR, you see these small boxes. These small boxes are attributes that you can use in the report only related to DTR. So you can use the user who created the DTR, shipper, the consignee, the picking, the document category, even the DINCO term, right? But you can use FU type of master data elements, arrival date, charged by, changed on, the consignee. And on the other hand, you have a list of FOs, a lot of master data elements related to the FO as well. So a list of attributes in the left side. And then in terms of measures, you have a list of numbers related to DTRs. And these numbers are number of documents of DTR, number of consignees for DTR, number of shippers, the PO lead time related to each of the DTR, and number of carriers. These are measures. So anything related to measures are numbers. Can be quantity, can be weight, can be amount of money, can be number of documents, number of items, okay? So you should not expect any attribute, information non being a number in the measures, in the rows, okay? In the columns. So in terms of FU, I see number of documents only. And in terms of FO, I see quantity, weight, volume, item, and averages. And then from there, I can see quantity, weight, and volume from products, from cargo, from packages, from gross in kilos. So you have plenty of information related to FO, to freight order. So this is the holistic view of the attributes on the left side and then the measures on the right side. Okay? So let's say that we don't select all the attributes in one chance and all the measures because the report will be huge. Let me show to you only, let's say in DTR, if we only select one consignee. So we drag and drop consignee from DTR, right? And we only select few number of items as a measures for DTR. In this case, we want to know the number of documents, DTR documents for the consignee, for a particular consignee, or for the all number of consignees in the UN, number of shippers, and number of carriers. I want to know the FU documents related to the DTRs. And in terms of FO, I want to know quantity and documents related to quantity for the FO, the number of packages, the cargo. Okay, so this is what I select initially. And please bear with me, we are now in a, let's say, in a theoretical stage, okay? Then we'll do this in the system, but especially for the ones you who are not acquainted with the system, I think this is quite useful. So let's say that we select only those elements, right, in the report. You see, this is what we have selected. So what should we expect to see? Okay, so we should expect to see a list of consignees, you see, from the TR. These are a list of consignees, which is our, I think those are, from the inventory perspective, those are plans, right? So those are, let's say, missions in general, right? Code of missions. And I see a list of measures, which are the number of documents, number of shippers, and number of carriers for each of these consignees. In terms of FU, I see the number of documents related to each of the consignees. And in terms of FOs, I have plenty of information, but only select the ones I have selected previously: number of documents or FO, the final amount, the quantity for packages, and the total cargo quantity for each of the breakdown of the DTR and FU. So this is the information that I may expect if I only select these items: one attribute and several measures. I hope it's clear. Because we have plenty of attributes, and this is particularly important for TM type of reports, because in finance and FM, trust me, we don't have that many attributes coming from the transactional system. Here, I think it's a good news that we have in the initial prompt and even in the report plenty of possibilities to filter and link with measures, so we can really do a good analysis in terms of transportation. So let's say that we select that we're going to pivot now, that this is another scenario where we want to pivot our analysis based on FO documents, which is the consignee for the FO and the execution status. So we select only these two elements, and then in terms of measures, we only select the number of documents related to the FO and information in terms of quantity, weight, volume, and item. Okay? So this is the initial, let's say, requirement, and this is what we should expect. We should see a list of consignees by FO and execution status, not started, in execution, executed, ready for transportation execution, and then those statuses and consignees are linked to a DTR documents, number of documents, and as well information on the amount and weight by each of the rows. So you'll see the possibilities in terms of analysis are huge, really, are really, 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 it's really interesting to start using this large amount of data initially now that we are now even in ramp up. So this actually can be really useful in terms of do, let's see, diagnosis of whether the data dumped into production in the TM model, in the transactional system, actually it's understood and well transported into BI first, and secondly, whether for your own consignee, on your own mission, whether the data that you see in BI makes sense or not, right? So we have plenty of possibilities to just do a healthy check of data, and then once the data is checked and everything works okay, then we will be able to do a good analysis in terms of transportation. So before I go to the demo, I just want to know no questions. Okay, I hope that everything is clear, guys. So the demo one, I want to do an analysis of all documents for a specific consignee. Okay, so let me go to the system and see. Let me just try to drag and drop there. See, it's going to resize. Instead of stop sharing, I think, is it okay, Saida? See well? It'll take some time. Resize. Okay, so let me summary. So I'm going to the summary tab, and I want to know. I want to do an analysis of documents for a specific consignee. So I want to know that there is one DTR document for each of the FUs, or excuse me, on the contrary, there is one FU document for each of the DTRs. So you see here the DTR document description. I can just drag out, not important. So let me take the DTR document, which should be around here. DTR document here, because sorry, I guess the screen is a bit. DTR document here. Here we go. So I'm going to drag into the rows. Those are the DTR numbers, okay? All DTR numbers for all consignees in the mission, okay? But then I want to know how many FU documents I have for each of the DTRs. So obviously all these measures are not important now, so let me just filter them out. How I filter them out? I double click on the measures. Let me unselect everything and only select FU number of documents. You see FU number of documents? So I would expect only one column. Clicking OK. So you'll see that the whole report has changed a lot. Why? Because I drag out what was initially there, and I only select DTR document number. These are my document number that you can see in the portal, in the transactional system. And then you have assigned one specific FU number of documents. So it is a one-to-one relationship. You should not expect more than one here, right? So this is just an initial check, okay? Just from the, let's say, process point of view, but initial demo on how to link, let's say, the FU. If you want to know which is the specific FU document, then you go in the attributes down there. In the attributes, and remember that these attributes are sorted in alphabetical order. So the FU should be around here. You see FU document, sorry, it's difficult for me. This one, right? Here we go. If I drag it in there, I will see a linkage between the DTR and the FU document one-to-one. But now I will have specifics of each of these FU documents, right? Okay, this report is simple, I know, but at least you know you can start doing this this checking of documents for a specific consignee. If you want to know this, remember that I didn't filter by consignee, so you want to know specifically for one particular mission, so we'll have to go for the DTR, say DTR consignee here. I will have to put the consignee into the picture, and from there, if I double click in the consignee, I can filter now the mission. You see that initially everything is selected. So if I just untick everything, and let's say that I want to select only IT01. So the list of DTRs and FU documents will be only for IT01 plants. Okay, and from there you can drag and drop and start using some other attributes, right? Remember that you can filter initially in the prompt or in the report itself. Let's say that you want to change the whole prompt. Remember, if you click here in this icon, the prompt, when you click on the prompt, you will be redirected directly to the initial prompt, and then from here you can start your analysis. Okay, so you have always the possibility to go back to the initial prompt by clicking here in the prompt. You think it's not necessary right now, we can click on cancel and we get back to our report. So first demo, kind of like a linking DTR document, a few documents, and see what does this one-to-one relationship. Let's see that for the sake of time, let me just I will go back to this part, but let me check, for example, DTRs with dangerous goods. You know that if we are going to transport dangerous goods, that, let's say, tag, it's ticked into the transactional system. So every time that we're going to transport dangerous good, we have to click, and that means that from the best of our knowledge, those goods should not be, let's say, mixed in terms of transportation with some others in case that they are affected for any reason. So how we can check, let's say, from a very high perspective, whether there are dangerous goods involved. So basically, let me just select all consignees, not only IT01. So I'm going to select everything. So I have here information from all the consignees. Now I'm going to FU document, and the consignee for me is not important, so I'm going to drag it out, one. Because I only want to do an analysis of all the DTRs with dangerous goods. So DTR number, it's okay. I'm going to keep this one. FU document, I'm going to drag out as well. And in terms of measures, I can keep a few number of documents. It's not now relevant, but I can just leave it there. And I'm going to see whether I have an attribute related to dangerous. You'll see that there are plenty of options. So sometimes, I recommend you to click Control F in order to find a specific concept. And let me put the word dangerous. Here we go. The system finds one highlighted in yellow, FO, dangerous goods. Well, actually, there are 9 matches, so you can select the dangerous goods from the FO perspective, from the DTR perspective as well, and some others on the bottom should be around. From the FU as well. I think all of them, and I don't know whether. Okay. So let me just select from the DTR perspective. So I'm going to drag it into the rows. So if there is any dangerous goods in a DTR document, I will see here an X. Remember that if there is an X, then this document number related to a DTR involves a transportation of a dangerous good. You'll see that for all these in this report, there are none, because I think I tested before, none of the DTRs are linked to dangerous goods. So you should not expect any of these X around here. If you remember that you can always sort. If I right-click a bit of time. If I right-click in the concept, I can sort this case from A to Z or Z to A. Why? Because X, it's let's say understood by the system like it's a character, it's a letter. So you can select a letter and sort it from Z to A or A to Z. So if there is an X here, a letter X, which is a tick of dangerous goods, you should see here in the upper part. So it's not there, so there are no dangerous goods related to any DTR document. The same, you can do it for IFU or FO documents. Let's see more related to the demo as well. I wanted to check this because you have the demo and you can do it yourself afterwards. But I want to check whether there are any inbound deliveries related with FCA without Incoterm location. Apparently, and I was talking with Brian and David the other day, there are some situations where in the inbound delivery there is no Incoterm location, and somehow that's going to affect down the road to the planning of the process. So if there is, you see in the IBD, whether if it's an FCA, if it's an Incoterm FCA, and there is no without location, there is no location, then it has consequences down the road, whether when you want to plan or unplan this inbound delivery. So you have to change and go back to the inbound delivery and put a location of the Incoterm. So how we can check that in BI? How we can check a list of inbound deliveries for FCA without Incoterm location? Okay. So how I see inbound deliveries here, let me just put here in find inbound. Inbound, no matches found. So how come there are no inbound deliveries in an end-to-end? Okay, I did this on purpose. Why? Because and I want to now use this time to link this situation to the job aids. So for each of the reports, we have a job aid. Yes, I think it's Juan. Over to you, Juan.
Yes. Sorry, you can search for original delivery rather than inbound delivery.
I know. The idea was to go to the job aid now and show to them that they will not find a master data element related inbound delivery, but if we look for inbound delivery concept in the job aid will tell just what you have said. So let me go to the job aid and show to you how it works. So this is a job aid. You see inbound, and let me just go again. Close it. But first, let me show to you the job aid. So this is the end-to-end, the job aid for freight orders, items, and charges. Plenty of information. We'll go through this part later on, but so it tells you from the beginning where to find, first how to log into Umoja, how to access BI, once you access BI, how to maneuver with the prompt. In terms of the different elements that you should be seeing once you do not select any of the elements in the prompt, how you can actually export those elements in the report itself to Excel or PDF. And on top of that, and most importantly, a description of each of the elements that you are going to see in the report. So, for example, now I don't see, I put inbound delivery in the report, I don't see anything, and it's like, how come in an end-to-end processing transportation, I don't have information on inbound delivery? That cannot be right. As Juan said, it has another name, let's say. So how I find inbound delivery in the job aid, I go to Control F, I select inbound, and you see that in characteristics, the first, let's say, finding, it's this bullet point DTR FWO buyer's reference number to original delivery. Here, this one, the description is the original inbound or outbound delivery number for DTR or MOU description for FWO. So I want first to show to you that first inbound delivery, the inbound number, its inbound concept is not in the report itself, but it's within the element of DTR, buyer's reference number, or original delivery. You have plenty of other situations where you can find inbound. Here in the DTR original delivery billing status as well, whether the billing status is processed, not processed, partially processed, the distribution status. So the good thing about the job aid, because this one is quite large, it has more than 30 pages, is just sometimes instead of reading the whole thing, you just go and select, identify a particular element that you're interested, and from there you can start digging a little bit. So remember, one of the characteristics that we can use for inbound delivery, it's this one DTR, buyer's reference, or original delivery, right, Juan? Over to you. And please feel free to chip in because you and your team were the ones drafting these job aids and creating the report. So actually, all the credit of these sessions are for you and not for anyone else. So Juan, over to you. Do you want to
no, Danny,
further explain?
This is the field to analyze either inbound or outbound delivery. So you are right.
Exactly. Okay. So now I'm going to go back to the report. So remember, and you have to help me here, Saida, because I don't see very well. DTR, buyers, should be around there. Buyers number, original delivery, okay. So this is the inbound delivery. So let me just, yeah, I should zoom a little bit more, okay. What I will do in tomorrow's session. Okay, so I dragged in into the inbound delivery, which has another name, remember. I'm going to take out the other two reference related to document number and dangerous goods, which are not important right now. Remember that you are not breaking anything, and that's something I didn't say, but I think you guys understand. Whatever you do here in BI will have no impact whatsoever in TM as a module in transactional system. So you will not be modifying, you will not be changing, you will not be doing anything into the repository of information in the transactional system. What you're doing here is just playing around with the concepts related to TM and creating accordingly all the reports. So you see here, these are inbound delivery numbers, starting with 01. So these are the DTR, FW, buyer's reference number, original delivery here. So this is a list of inbound deliveries with a few documents. Then let me just take out. Let me see if I can just not select any. Here, yes, the system always tells you to select at least one column. So you see here, I cannot click in OK. I have to always to have present in my report at least one single measure. Okay, so let me just take one DTR number of documents here. So remember, going back to the demo, I want to see whether for all these DTRs, for this, all these inbound deliveries, with the Incoterm FCA, whether we have an Incoterm location. So I have to filter in only the FCA's Incoterm. So I have to go through all this list of inbound deliveries and only select FCA. How do I do that? So I'm going to look for Incoterm in my report. I put there Incoterm, and you see that there is a series of attributes related to Incoterm. In this case, I have the Incoterm DTR, the description, the location as well. So let me just select this one, DTR Incoterm location. Excuse me, description, sorry. Okay, and when it process, I will use this time to go to the job aid. Okay, and then I'm going to look there for the concept Incoterm as well. And see here. So in case that you're not familiar with the Incoterms, our colleagues in RDM actually give a breakdown of the Incoterm code and the description. As you can see that FCA it's free carrier. Okay, so the good thing about the job aid is not only giving you information and description of what means each of the attributes and measures, but gives you a little bit of more information on the breakdown and the description of each of the statuses or sub-statuses that you may see for each of these master data elements, right? So it's free carrier. So let me go back to the reports, and you'll see free carrier there. So I want to filter only by FCA, which is free carrier. So how do I do that? I double click in the attribute and select only free carrier, which is FCA. So instead of 427 inbound deliveries, now I'm going to come up only with a much lesser, let's say, or a fewer number of rows. Probably. Remember what I'm doing here, I'm filtering only by FCA type of Incoterm. Now I have only 244 inbound deliveries only for FCA, right? And then, so going back to the demo, I want to see whether these inbound deliveries have some sort of Incoterm location. So if I go there in the attributes, I will see that you see Incoterm location, DTR Incoterm location. So if I drag in the attribute Incoterm location, I would expect for each of these inbound deliveries some sort of location. If I do not see a location, then I can really spot the inbound delivery and going back to the transactional system and update the Incoterm location in the inbound delivery. So then I'm going to go back to the presentation. Remember, this is what we're doing. We're identifying which ones of the FCAs, the DTR with FCAs, have no location, so will give us some sort of issues when we try to plan this document. Okay. So here are the list of locations that I can see in terms of Incoterms. So you see most of them are there. So it will be a matter of seeing whether you see there is a blank space here for this specific inbound delivery. So we have no location, so we probably want to go to ECC and check this inbound delivery and update the Incoterm location so we can accordingly plan accordingly down the road. Okay, so of course you can select if you don't want to go one by one. You can just sort, right click. If I go to the column, and that takes a bit of time sometimes. Sort, let's say set to A. Let's say if in the top I have the blank spaces. So the blank spaces will be either in the top or in the bottom. Didn't. I have here another situation here for this inbound delivery. And of course, this data, these inbound deliveries are covering all the UN. So if you want to filter for a specific plant or a specific mission, then you will have here to use DTR consignee, drag it in, and then filter for your mission. Okay. So a bit of the demo, let's say from a business perspective, plant you have. I mean, this is just one peak of the iceberg. The whole the possibilities of analysis are huge, and I want to first stop for a minute and see whether we have any questions or comments for any of the panelists as well. RDM, welcome to intervene if you guys want, and if not, I will jump directly into the presentation and do the second demo, which is the list of indicators. Okay, this is, as I was saying before, we will share with you the Excel with the list of possibilities that you can do, that you can use in terms of cheat sheets. In this case, I think I selected 6 of them or 7. Okay, all this list of indicators for the first report, starting with movements by entity. How you should read this list of indicators. First, this is the description. And then in one of the columns, you will see the attributes that you have to use in order to see the movements by entity. So movement by entities will be defined by the number of documents, DTRs, number of documents, and number of consignees description. So you're linking the consignee and number of documents related to each of those consignees. So by if you are doing that, you will have an overview of the movements by entity. So let's do that. And in order to do that, let me open another tab. You see here that if you click here on this blank document, you have a whole blank analysis. So if you want to insert a new analysis, you click on Insert. So for each of these, let's say, KPIs that we will use in the demos, we will create one sheet. Okay. So now, let's say you have to click on Insert in order to activate, let's say, the linkages between the report and the data universe, let's say. So the movements by entity, it's what the indicator tells us is the DTR number of documents and the DTR consignee description. So it's as easy as dragging those two elements into our report. Let's see, DTR number of documents. So where I can find it, then when you get familiar with this with the report, you will be it will be easier for you to scroll up and down and locate where the specific information is. So if you now are having problems in order to understand how I'm moving, don't worry. Once you start using these reports, you will become familiar where these elements are in the left panel. On the contrary, if you can always use the Control F and find the specific description of what you want to look for. So number of documents is a measure. So let me drag it and put it into the columns. So remember, this is a blank document. So if I'm putting here DTR number of documents only in a blank analysis workspace, and I see here a number, which is 579, that means that for all the data in BI for transportation management, I have 579 DTR documents. Regardless, the consignee, the shipper, the status, I have 579 documents. Okay, so that's the number of documents I can see. Okay, and then I will have to drag the consignee description. Okay, I'm going to back. You see number of documents and consignee description. Consignee description, it's an attribute, so it should be somewhere around here. Description. Consignee description. Let me go. Yes. I cannot hear you well.
Can you hear me now? Perfect. Okay. So we have a question, actually a request of repeating. How did you get free career only when you select Incoterm description?
Okay.
How did you get free career only when you select Incoterm description? If you can please repeat that.
Yes. Once I finish this indicator, then I will go back. Thank you, Zaira. Let me go there. I'm going to find the consignee description. See if I can find. You see, I put consignee description, and I can find one match, especially for the DTR. You see, consignee description. This is what I want to look for. So I am going to drag into the rows. So I can see that this is an initial, I mean, we're talking here from, let's say, a 40,000 feet altitude, right? This is a very high level analysis. We're not going into specifics, but I know at least, this is a breakdown of all the movements of the DTR documents created by each of the consignees now in the UN, by each of the missions, right? So if you want to know specifically for your mission, then you can filter. And then I can actually use this moment to cover our colleague's question, how I did filter free career before. I will do it before, but basically at the end of the day is how you filter things in a report. Okay, if I, let's say, want to filter one specific consignee in my report, here we have all of them. I have to just double click on the attribute. You see that all of them are ticked. I want to select only one specific. So I click on select everything, so everything is unticked, right? So nothing is ticked. And let me take, I don't know, what is MINUSMA, for example, Mali? UN Interim Force in Mali. All right. I click in OK, and then I will see all the DTR number, the documents related to Mali, which are 66. But then you want to know, okay, but I know 66 is okay, but I want to know specifics on those numbers, all right? So you go to the left panel, and in somewhere in all this huge panel list on DTRs, you will have the document number, DTR document number over here. So you drag it in, and you see the numbers of the DTR 66 only for Mali. And important to note, you see this funnel, this yellow funnel? This means that this attribute, this particular attribute, which is the consignee description, has been filtered. So if you have filtered any of the specific attributes, the system will note that by putting a yellow funnel. So we have specifics on Mali, on DTR documents for Mali. Okay? So and then for free carrier as well, I will do it again. I think it was in summary. I don't remember, so you see free carrier here. This is the report. I set a list of inbound deliveries with a Incoterm description and Incoterm location, right? You are telling me how you came up with only free carrier. Well, first of all, I want you to note that the Incoterm description, which is this one with free carrier, it's with this yellow funnel. So this means that this particular attribute has been filtered. So let me see which one it is. I double click. And you see that free carrier is only the one I selected. So what I did before, everything was selected. So I have all the Incoterms for all the DTRs. You see all of them. I'm going to put them in the report. So that yellow funnel will be removed. You see, no yellow funnel. So we have all the DTRs with the Incoterm location and the Incoterm description. And your question is how I can only fill the free carrier. Okay? I go to the Incoterm description. I double click. I unselect everything, and I only select free carrier. That's a way. I will show you another way, because the good thing about BI is you can do the same thing in many different ways. So you see, I have all the Incoterm descriptions here. I can right-click in the Incoterm description here, filter by member, and you'll see the same thing. So you can right-click on the attribute or just double-click. I hope it's clear. Then another piece of information, and just I want to take this opportunity as well to tell you that along with the presentations that you will see today and the recordings and the Q&A, you will receive a great presentation that it was initially created by our colleagues in ICC back some years ago, on how to navigate on analysis workspaces. We updated a little bit the presentation, but it was a really great effort. It's more than, I think, 150 slides where you can see all the different functionalities and different things that you can use in terms of navigation for this particular type of reports: filtering, sorting, creating pie charts, keeping the members, insert calculations, plenty of things that, of course, those ones are not in the scope of this training, but we'll try to accommodate and try to give a little bit of hints or how you can navigate here and there while we are creating these transportation reports. But bear with me, and we don't have time to go through all the functionalities for AWS. That's why we will share with you this presentation that, as I said, it was done by our colleagues in ICC some years ago, and we did update a little bit this year. So more things. So this is how to filter. Remember, in the third tab, I include a list of DTR documents or movements in terms of DTR by consignee, in this case Mali, because I filter only Mali. And it's always the same thing. If you see in the presentation, you see a list of indicators. In this case, I only select 7. And you have the description and which are the attributes that you may want to use. So I will keep using this methodology until the end of the session, the next 15, 20 minutes. But I definitely recommend you that you go through all the indicators by this report end-to-end and try to do it by yourself and see whether it may the report and the data that you retrieve makes sense for your own particular mission. Okay, that I will do the first thing in order to do, let's say if you have access, of course, I will do first thing after this session to go through the list of KPIs. And the same you would have to do for each of the reports that we will go through this week. So another one, the movements created monthly in terms of DTRs. So will be the number of documents of DTRs created by month. So I should expect that this is an attribute that I can find in my report. So let me go back to the demo. I'm going to click another tab, insert a new analysis. I could use the other tab as well, but I want to keep all the, let's say, KPIs restricted to those tabs, and you can change actually the names. We'll do that. I'm going to right now. And it's there. So instead of sheet number 7, I double click here. I'm going to change the name to, for example, DTRs underscore month. I think it's here, DTR month. Okay. And sheet number 6 was the DTR consignees, I think. But this pretty much works like Excel. Oh. I think I click on bar. Don't worry, I can. Right. I will log again. Just bear with me. It can happen to all of us. So, wait again. I know typing. Okay. See now. And now we can see whether the document was created. No, so it didn't. I guess that I click on the enter when I should have done it, when I tried to change the name of the tab, and somehow the system says, you know what, I'm going to kick you out. So again, transportation management, end-to-end, I double click. And you know what, actually, I'm going to do this exercise now from another perspective. I'm going to use the prompt. I'm going now to use the prompt. Remember that I want to, for example, I want to know the number of DTR documents created monthly by, let's say, Mali again, right? So DTR Mali. So let me go down. DTR, I should see DTR consignee somewhere. Here, DTR FO consignee. I click there, and I can go to the matchbox. And from the list of consignees, I would select Mali. Okay, this is a bit of it's cumbersome to understand. So you know what? I'm going to use my binoculars here. How I use them? I can put Mali. And before I click on the binoculars, let me click on the right arrow here and see that I want to look up for text, because Mali is text. It's not a key. It's not an alphanumeric code. So now I click on binoculars, and you can see that I can see 2 consignees here, even support office in Somalia or Mali. Why? Because Mali, Somalia, Mali is part of the word Somalia, so just for me it's Mali, so it will be ML10. So I check this one, clicking OK. So you see ML10 it's now in our prompt. So when I click in OK, I will see the end-to-end information only for Mali, for the consignee Mali. So well, I mean, it was a good thing actually that the system kicked us out, so we can use the prompt and you understand how it's used. So and now remember that the demo for this second KPI was the movements created monthly in terms of DTRs. So I will use the number of documents as a column for DTRs, and I will use the attribute DTRs created a month. Yes, Aida?
Just another question. Are you going, they're asking if you are going to put or keep reports templates for us, for them over there.
So the question was if whether we are going to create templates for reports.
Put or keep reports templates. Yeah.
No. The idea actually, if the templates are already created in a way, let's say the analysis workspaces, the reports are being created, and then when you click in OK without the prompt, you will be you will see some sort of layout, right? That layout is the one proposed initially by the business, but based on that layout, you can then change. So we will not create a template because the needs and requirements are endless for any of the counterparts. So it would really make no sense for us to create a template that will be useful for Cyprus, but will really not be of much need for Unifil. So and you can see that the reports are there already with some recommended suggestions in terms of measures, but remember that you can always change measures, columns, and attributes as you wish. Okay?
So just maybe to rephrase it, there's like they can create their own template and save it as you did with the different sheets. With you see, so you can, with all the different criteria, you can create your own templates. The view that you will have will be only for you. You cannot create a template for everybody. So we from here cannot create a template for you because you have specific criteria. But then from what Danny showed now today, you can filter and save the different filters that you have and save the sheet. And then you can go back to it at any time because it will be there, right?
Yep. I couldn't say it better. So thank you. I think the question and the comment from Saida was actually reminds me. Yes, indeed, you can create your own templates first from the prompt, and you'll see that you can save a particular prompt. When imagine that you want to select a particular status of DTRs with a consignee, with a shipper, and that you can save that prompt. So every time that you launch a report, the prompt is already pre-populated for you. So every time you click in OK, you'll see the specifics on the prompts that you already defined. First, that's the first customization or template. And secondly, once you create a report, for example, this report for me it's OK, you can always save this report, and I will tell you how to save it. And every time you open the report that you have saved, it will be refreshed. Data will be retrieved with the latest information based on the report that you created initially. So yes, the answer is yes, you can create your own templates based on your needs and then save them. So you know what, basically what I will do, I will use this demo and then I will save, and I will tell them how to retrieve again the report. So thank you, Saida. And the question was from, sorry? Oh, sorry, just.
Yeah. Sorry, I hope I will pronounce it correctly. So it was from Ade Rayev.
Thank you, Ade Rayev. Thank you. So thanks, Aida. So the situation was in the prompt. Remember that I filtered by Mali, right? And I want to know the number of DTRs created in Mali by 1 month. So of course, I have here information that no is not useful in this moment for me. So what I'm going to do in terms of measures, I'm going to double click and unselect. In order to unselect, you have to select everything and then unselect, and then only click on DTR number of documents, because I want to know the number of DTRs created monthly in Mali. So only one column, Only one measure. All right. And then the attribute type description, not important for me now. So let me drag it out. And I'm going to identify the once created month. I should see here, you see the attribute DTRs created a month. If I drag it in, I will see a breakdown of these 66 documents created by month from January to December. Okay. Then, if you are not quite sure about exactly the dates, you can always actually put a bit of more specifics and even the ones created with the year as well. Let me put it just above. I'll see the number of documents created in a year. So I know that all these months are for 2019. And so all this is the breakdown of the 66 documents in Mali. If, let's say, and this is another tip for you in terms of navigation, let's see that if I want to know the ones in October, all in October, right? So I click on the one in this cell, number 10, October, I right click, and the system will give me several options. One of them is to keep members. If I select keep members, I will see only these 19 documents. So in the system, we'll see, okay, it's in 2019, October, 19 documents. So I want to focus my analysis on October 2019, and specifically for these 19 documents. Then this is just, you're opening now the window to even drill down and go and identify who created the DTR, which is the status of DTR, which is the shipper, which is the carrier. All those pieces of information are in the left panel over here. All right. But actually going to the question from our colleague, let's say that for us, for Saida and myself, this is a piece of information that we want to track and monitor every single, let's say, month. So let me just put all the months, instead of all the October, let me select everything. So let's see, for us, we are in Mali in transportation, and we want to keep track of all the documents created every single month. And this is the report that fits our needs. So let me save the report. This is floppy disk on the top menu. Again, remember that the presentation that will be sent to you will explain thoroughly all these icons and how to work with them. Floppy disk, save as. Then you're saving in your favorites, always in your favorites, because the rest of the folders that you can click here, if I click in the folders, these are production. I will never be able to save any of my documents in production, right? So I will have to go always to my documents, and from there, in favorites, I can just put a file name here, Niel, Saida, Mali, for example. I'm going to click on save. Now it's saved. And imagine I can close this report. Okay, and I go to my documents. You see these folders are in production, right? I go to my documents, my favorites. I should be able to see that report over here, exactly. So this is analysis workspace, and this is the date that was created. If I double click, I will be able, the prompt will be there. And remember, okay, because I did not initially, and that's important, I did not click on Save Prompt Values with Workspace. If you want to, whatever you put in the prompt here, if you want to be saved, you have to tick this part. That's why Mali was not actually coming or popping up initially, right? So let me just go to Consignee, select Mali again. Binoculars in text. Now it's in the prompt. Mali, it's now in the prompt, and I have to always click on Save Prompt with the nice workspace. Otherwise, even though I had saved the report, the prompt, initial prompt has not been saved. So that was my mistake, my bad on that. Right, then you go back to the presentation. Well, remember that we are in the part of movements created monthly, but we have some others demos, and it's not actually bad news if we don't cover all these demos, this list of indicators, because they are already for you there. I mean, in 5 minutes after we have finished this WebEx, you will have the list of indicators, and I want to have 5 minutes of your time before I finish to show you the Excel, how you can work with Excel and the list of indicators. So it will be actually a great chance for you to go through the indicators and to start using the report right away. So you see, this is the report has been saved, the layout. Remember that I put the year, the months, and the list of documents. But remember always to click, and going back to the prompt, and that was my bad. You have to click on Save Prompt Value with Workspace, because otherwise the information that will be seen here will be for all consignees, for all missions, and not for Mali. Okay, so close this part. So every time, for example, now today we're going to have the same information, right? But if I myself, 1 week from now, I open this report with this, let's say this template that we created, instead of 66 documents, I bet you will have more than 60. Let's say, imagine we have 65 more created in the month of December. So this will be refreshed as you are opening in different days this report. So yes, there is a way to create templates, and it's just a matter of using the report, saving the report with a prompt, and you're good to go to monitor those data every time that you are opening the report in BI. So that's in terms of movements by month, for example. If you want to include, let's say, total in your own, let's say, report, you see that there are several tabs. You can analyze, you can insert, you can display, okay? But then if you right-click in any part of the report, you see you can show totals, you can hide totals. Let me select show totals. Remember, right-click in any type of report, and then you see at the bottom 66, right? If in display in the tab, if you want to see this 66 in the top, that okay. I thought it was around here, but you can actually see I will show you, you can see the result on the top or on the bottom part of the report. So remember, this analysis workspace was saved, so every time that we open, it will be refreshed with new data. And instead of going to the demo, I told you that we have different possibilities here, and this is just a proposal from us. Okay, let me have time to go through the Excel that will be sent to you as well. So this is the list of indicators. I think it's 60 of them. Just suggested, proposed for you. Remember that these are not official coming from the business, but are a good list to start with in order to understand how your mission is doing in terms of transportation management. And let me go through this table with you. First, we have the report number, a label, which is the title of the report, the description of the report, excuse me, the report, again, the KPI, sorry for that, the KPI, the description of the KPI, and then the report name. So basically, which is the report that you want to use in order to use that KPI. And then the fields, very important, and I can zoom in a little bit. So in fields, you can see here the field that you can use in order to come up with the KPI. In this case, for the first one, which is status of movements, is DTR, number of documents, and execution status. All right. So by using these two elements in the report, you will come up and see information in terms of the status of each of the movements in your mission or as a whole in the UN. Okay. But let's say that we want to only focus on our analysis in a particular type of report. So if I click here in the filter, you'll see I have here delivery requirements and forwarding orders. We'll see that tomorrow. The end-to-end freight orders. This is the report that we saw today. Event details and freight orders and events. If I want to select only one, which is the end-to-end, for example, and click in OK, these are the list of KPIs linked to the end-to-end report. You can see that most of the KPIs, 80% of the KPIs proposed are within the end-to-end report. On the contrary, if you want to go to the event details, you see that there are just a few KPIs related to the events, and the same for the other reports. So this will be a good piece of, let's say, like a checklist of all the KPIs and a cheat sheet that you can use in order to start using the report. As I said, and I want to underline this plenty of times, these are not official KPIs coming from the business, from Transportation Management Unit, but are some sort of KPIs that will guide you through the usage and management of these reports when you start using them. So that's as per the table that you will receive in Excel. This is the list of indicators that you can use right after the WebEx training. And this is the reference to the job aid that is already published in iLearn. So if you click in the link, we will see this is the access directly to a Word document where we can see all the different attributes, characteristics, and description of elements of the end-to-end report for transportation management. All right, from the prompt up until to the description of every single item. And then for tomorrow, and then it's 10 minutes to 12, but I think it's more than enough for the first day. For proposed agenda for tomorrow, it's the continuation of the end-to-end. So in case you have questions or you have started using, we can share a little bit of information from your perspective. Then we move on to report number 2, which is delivery requirements and forwarding orders. After that, with a demo as well. Report number 3 with the event details, and then in case that you haven't registered, you have always a link to register to the WebEx number 2. So that was all for today. Thanks for your kind attention. Over to Saida in case that you have any comments or questions.
No, there's no additional questions. We will gather the few questions that we have, and we will share that at the end of the process, together with the training material that Daniel will send to everybody. And again, this session has been recorded. You will also receive the link in case you missed one or two parts, or in case you want to share this with your colleagues. And I think that's it. Thank you, Danny. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Saida. So now I'm going to stop recording. Sign into the server.